Yo, what is up, Village? It is your boy, your homie, your friend, Damien Howard, here with episode 11 of Village Talks. I am so grateful, so happy to be here today because I got my friend here, y'all, from Cali, who's coming in with the energy, coming in with all of the insights, coming in with just a nuanced way of us thinking about how to go about mentorship. Y'all know when you come to Village Talks, we're having a conversation that is all oriented towards that whole adage, that old saying, it takes a village to raise our kids, right? And the whole thing is, okay, like, what does that look like? What does that mean? Who's doing that well? That's what we explore here when we come to this space, as well as, right, how can we do a better job as a village of supporting young people? So, with that, Torie, I want to give it over to you. Introduce us to you, your work, however it is you want to jump into this space. You got it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate being contacted. What's up, family? My name is Dr. Torie Weiston-Serdan. I am the Chief Visionary Officer and co-founder of an organization here in the Inland Empire of SoCal. Always got to rep my space, called the Youth Mentoring Action Network. And I am a former educator. I was a high school English teacher. I should say a lifetime teacher.
Mm,
I don't work in schools anymore, but I'm definitely still teaching just in community and in the streets, right?
mm.
Education rooted in community. But a former official educator, high school English teacher, started this nonprofit with my partner and co-founder, Dr. Gail Weiston-Serdan, who's our chief music officer. And we really founded the Youth Mentoring Action Network around this concept that mentoring should not be this top-down hierarchical process,
Mm.
that we should be as I look to ancient technology from places that Black and brown folks come from, the global South. This should be a process where elders, peer leaders, where to your point about village,
Mm-hmm.
this should be mentoring should be a collaborative intergenerational space where we are learning from one another. And that's the design really around the Youth Mentoring Action Network. We say that we build youth power through mentoring, education, and wellness. And for me, it's really about being a good elder, listening to young folks, walking alongside young folks, and trying to help them be who they want to be, trying to help them thrive. And to your point earlier, unlock their superpower, right? So that's the work we do. I always tell folks that at the end of the day, we all have our fancy mission statements, but at the end of the day, we do what young folks want us to do, right? We listen to them, we center their needs, we ask them what they can use from us, what they can take from us, and
Mm.
we walk alongside them in that journey.
So, Dr. Torie, I'm telling you, I've had now 10 of these segments before you, and it's interesting because you have a unique ability to articulate what it is y'all are about in succinct ways, yet powerful ways.
Thank you.
And I told you even before I hit record that I am attempting to do a better job of helping our guests to explore some of the nuances of who's coming here. So talk to us about that journey. Like, what type of work? Because people don't always see the behind the scenes. They don't see the years of
Yes.
developmental pieces that get you to a point that affords you an opportunity to come to this
Mhm.
place with total confidence, with clarity of thought that
Mhm.
then translates in the way that you show up. I'm just curious, because I know, yeah, I could already sense that, right? There's a unique passion behind this, but it's one thing for us to have a passion, and it's one thing for us to be skilled in our ability to talk about said passion. So
Right,
I know this
right.
has nothing to do with what I prepped you on beforehand, but I'm
It's
just
all good.
curious. Let us know about your journey to be able
Mhm.
to talk about that vision like you do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm gonna just say young folks have taught me everything I know,
Wow.
right? Between young folks in this area and elders in other areas of my life, I feel real well prepped. I feel like the ancestors chose me for this work, right? Like one of
Mm,
my bylines is, doing the work my ancestors left for me.
mm,
When I was young, even when I was young, I knew I wanted to do youth work.
mm,
Um, I didn't know what that looked like. So I became a teacher and I loved teaching. I love teaching. I love teaching English. That was my jam.
Mm.
But one of the things that struck me almost immediately as soon as I became a teacher was how limiting education systems, the system, the
Mm.
institution of education was, right? I
Mm.
only had 58 minutes with these young folks. I
Yeah.
had it was 40 of them. It was one of me, right? We're doing this for 5 periods a day. And I'm charged with teaching Shakespeare and Lorraine Hansberry and all these different sort of literary things. And then my young people are coming in as people.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm cool with the crucible, but I just broke up with my boyfriend, or I'm
Yeah.
in a fight with my parents, or I'm hungry, or, all of these sort of human things. And so anybody who's a teacher relates to this. Like you start realizing that English or math or science you thought you was going to teach,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
got to deal with the young folks as the full humans that are walking into the classroom, right? And so I started looking at mentoring really as a way to connect with young people more deeply, right? Like I'm okay with teaching you, but teaching you is one role.
Mm.
And I had to explore the idea that like my teacher role is not the same as my community elder role, is not the same as my auntie status.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And so I'm teaching in different ways, but not in terms of content. And so my journey has really been about listening to young people tell me what they need from me, right? And saying like, we love that you can teach us English, like that's dope, but we have all kinds of questions about like what we want to do in our lives, like
Mm.
what our path might look like, who I can ask these kinds of questions to. I'm also a queer elder, so
Mm-hmm.
having young queer folks be like, man, is this what I'm going to look like in 30 years? I didn't see that for myself, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so really, like when I say young people taught me, that's the truth. Young
Mm.
people along my journey have said, like, hey, this is what we need from you. This is how I see you. This is the role I would love to hear you play. And the humility that I exhibit has just come from listening to that and letting and actually leaning into what young people have required of me.
I probably about a decade now ago, I was just struck with how off it is to talk about, and again, this is something for Damien. This might not be as deep for everybody else, but I'm like, I'm gonna stop saying I'm code switching, right? Because code switching almost sounds like, okay, when I show up in this place, I am going to be the, most professional iteration and version of me, go into the entire lexicon of the
Right.
language and words that I have access to. And I no, like, oh, but actually, yes. And then, when, like you say, I'm on the block with my guys, I present as something different and I present
Mm-hmm.
in a different way. And it was almost like, man, I'm being less of who I am, but my experiences, my education,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I've been afforded to like have an opportunity to go through in life affords me an opportunity to have different manifestations of Damien, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
blessing and not necessarily something whereas I'm going out of body or trying to be somebody else when I'm living into those manifestations. So I say that because you talked about auntie, you talked about elder, you talked about teacher, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
curious and wanting to lean in more as far as how you know when it's time for you to embrace those individual roles in certain spaces, one
Yeah.
versus the other.
Well, that's one of the things being a teacher taught me.
Mm.
When again, anyone who's an educator, who is a teacher in a classroom, yourself included,
Yeah.
knows how you can get pulled in these different directions, right? The school is saying you got to focus on content. We need these kids to pass this test. We need them to understand these things.
Yeah.
Their parents are saying, Johnny needs a little bit of extra discipline. They
Mm.
might need a little extra push. The coach is coming to you saying, like you, so they're asking you to play all these different roles. And I had to get real comfortable with this idea that like my role as teacher is as content expert. Like I do have an actual professional responsibility, right? To
Yeah.
teach them this Shakespeare or whatever it is. It doesn't mean I can't have human compassion or kindness or whatever, but this is what I'm responsible for. And I think in that space, it also taught me, well, what does this look like? So who's me in community,
Mm.
right? Like this is where the village concept to me becomes particularly important
Mm.
because my role as teacher really should be more focused on education, right?
Mm.
But there should be auntie out there who's
Mm.
helping to support in other ways. There should be a coach out there who's helping to develop a child in a whole other way, right? It takes all of us. And so that's really where a lot of that comes from, is me just being like, okay, I'm in this space right now, and this is my responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Me leaving the classroom was more about me wanting to be able to define that for myself more,
Mm,
rather than having an institution tell me, now you here to teach, right?
mm.
So me leaving the institution allowed me to be more auntie and lean more into community elder and those things, because now I don't have the paid professional responsibility of making sure you read Romeo and Juliet.
Mm. Listen,
Right?
I'm just gonna say this off the top. I was gonna wait until the end of the segment, but I'm gonna say it right now. You need to do more of these if you're not already, because the world needs your voice and your perspective.
Respect.
It is so amazing, it's fruitful, and it's refreshing. And now it's time for story time, right? So I want you, Doc, I want you to help us to see through your words a time when one of your students or a group of your students truly embraced the power of village, the concept of I'm not just about going at life or going at this alone, but we're each other's keeper. Yes, we got some adults and we have some elders
Mhm.
leveraging the language that we used earlier who, you know, are giving us some guardrails, giving us some advice. But at the end of the day, you talk about this youth empowerment in action. I just want to like hear some examples, hear some stories of when you've seen that elevated in unique ways.
Yeah, I mean, I got stories. So, one of the programs we run here, it's a Black Girls Empower program,
Mm,
and our focus is two things: resources and rest.
mm,
And that came from us talking to Black girls in community and them saying, like, we doing all the things, but we don't have enough money to do it with, and we tired.
mm.
Right? And
And
so
you're
we
talking
designed
about
a
14 to 24-year-olds. So we talking about,
yes,
in many instances, high school girls, tired.
yes,
Wow.
organizers.
Ah.
I don't think we realize, and that's probably, I'll save this for later, but I would love to come back to at some point this concept that so many of our young people's first jobs, Black and brown young folks, is organizing.
Mm.
And I got beef with that, low key, but we'll talk about that. So
Okay.
um but so they were saying this, so we designed this program. We're like, okay, we're gonna highlight Black girl change makers. We're gonna bring them into this program. We're gonna give them some money,
Mm,
and we're gonna provide resources and rest for them. We're gonna provide retreats for them. But in designing this program, again, talking about like how they do it for each other, we worked with our first director for that program was Ziona Bryant. Ziona Bryant was 12 years old when she wrote a petition about the Trayvon Martin situation.
mm,
She is one of the ways that we know her now is she helped to get the Charlottesville, Virginia Confederate Monument taken down. So
mm.
she's become a national Black girl activist, right? So she
And she
took
went through your
on, like,
programming.
I want to run this
Wow.
program.
Wow.
So she found other Black girl change makers like her. She really did a lot of the outreach and the connections with them and the resourcing them and the setting up the retreats. And they became this group that they just started doing this for one another, right? Um,
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You said she was 12 doing all this?
when she started her activism, she was 12.
Wow.
Yeah, when she started working for us, she was a little bit older.
But
But
still,
yeah, but still, yeah. And
powerful.
so her being, this is our model, right? Her being the Black girl activist we're trying to target. Who else? Who else would you hire,
Mm,
right? To
right,
do that, to
right.
look for other Black girls who are doing work like she's doing. And so for one, that's one of our model. That's one of our ways of doing this. So to get at your question, like that group and all of our groups, because we design it with the approach of young folks supporting one another and us just providing them with resources and space, all of our programs kind of have this model of young folks helping young folks, elders coming in and supporting. So one of our first retreats for that program, we brought 40 Black women together in a beachside retreat of all ages. I think the youngest Black girl there was probably 16 and the oldest was probably 70.
Mm,
And we are all together in this beautiful space, resting, but also communing with one another and trying to figure out how we can help resource each other, support each other, have each other's back, be mentor, be auntie, do all the things.
yeah.
We had healers in the space, all of the things, right? So our model really invites what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We have a mental health EP that we put together. This is going to be our second year doing it. This is primarily young Black and brown boys. Young girls are there too. But what I find fascinating about the music aspect is like this is a space where our Black and brown boys have found a safe space to be able to get therapy in a way through music.
So you're in a music studio right now. Is that
Yeah.
the space where the EP is created? Is
Yep.
that also a space? Do y'all own that space? Are you partnering with? Okay.
We do. So,
Wow.
and this is again to your point of how we cultivate this. 3 years ago, we punched above our weight. Let's just say as a
Yeah.
nonprofit, and dreamed into existence a 1 acre estate
Wow.
that we have dedicated to young people.
Wow.
And it has a wellness garden, a wellness room, a sound studio, a youth lounge, a tree house.
Mm.
Um, it's a space for young people to dream.
Wow.
And so again, in designing these spaces and designing these programs, what you're saying about like how young people end up helping each other, and it's elders and it's young people, all of this happens because we bring folks into this space
Yeah.
and we say, let's do this together. We are who we got, right? So
Yeah.
like how do we support this? And even with our elders, like we do a lot of intentional work around when you show up in these spaces, how do you show up for young folks?
Mm.
Like we're not doing this top down stuff. Like we're not doing this, you know, young boy, young
Yeah.
man. This is how you do it. Like we're going to be in community with one another because as you heal, they heal. As they heal, you heal.
That's
Right. So we,
dope.
we all on this path together.
Yeah. So, yeah, it seems like y'all are doing some dope and innovative things. Can't wait to put my eyes on it. Can't wait to
Please
just
come
sit
through.
with you and go ahead and make sure I get all of the adequate training. So I'm not one of the uncles, and pull your pants up, boy. You know what I mean? I don't want to get in the way. So I need to get all the training and the coaching on the front end. I'm wondering, have you all gotten to a place where there's collaboration with government entities, even when you think of like businesses?
Mhm.
Yeah, like it just seems like your community should be stepping up and helping because what y'all are doing is amazing. That 1 acre of space has the ability to be so transformative for your community. So I wonder, like, what type of collaborative energy and support is coming you all's way.
Yeah, no, we definitely have mad community
Yeah.
support, which we love here in the IE. We partner with a lot of community level orgs. We do some government work. Our local, I'm sorry about that.
That's,
Our
that's all good.
local um, governor's office is in contact with us, and they do things here. Right now, I don't know again how much California stuff you're following, but Josh Friday, who is like Newsom's person over like volunteerism, AmeriCorps, stuff like that,
Mhm.
they have a very public call out for 10,000 men to volunteer and mentor. And
And is that
so
just in California?
that's just in California.
Okay.
And so, we're helping with that, to get folks to come out. We actually had a meeting today about hosting a men and boys retreat here in
Mm.
our space to try to help support some of that work. So yeah, we're constantly thinking about what are all the ways that we can partner, who's in the fold, how do we make this space available. We actually had an entire team meeting on a strategy around opening this space up to community more efficiently. So having community actually be able to kind of buy into the space a little bit
Mm.
and support us while we support them. And so just thinking about how we can open our doors in a lot of different ways. It's like every other nonprofit, you're gonna hear a lot about capacity. The more
Yeah.
folks want to come through, the more of us we need
Yeah.
to be able to hire to support all these different things that are going on. But no,
Absolutely.
we're definitely we always in the biz. We always in somebody's business. Like what y'all doing over here with young people? We want to
Yeah.
know.
I
We want to
love
be at the table.
Oh, I love it so much. So we're at the point in the segment whereas I am literally, actually metaphorically, equipping you with a magic wand.
Okay.
You have the wand now, and it
Ooh.
gives you the ability to think about everything within your workflows, all of the nuances of your experiences as a person who's running a dope mentoring organization. And if you could wave that magic wand, enhance or think about it, change anything, what would that be and why?
Ooh, ooh. If I could wave a magic wand, I think, it's real easy for nonprofits to say resources because we always trying to get that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if I could allow more young folks, I think for me it would be a concept of expansion.
Mm,
If we could build, we call this the youth power hub. If we could build these all over the country
wow.
and scale to a place where young folks had specifically had access to spaces to freedom dream,
Mm,
not to work,
yeah.
not to learn how to be more professional, not to just go to college. And I'm not saying those things aren't important. I think they're very important. I mean, discipline, focus, strategy, all of those things are extremely important. But what I was saying earlier about this concept of young people being organizers, you know, in this world, the way white supremacy is set up, our young folks get saddled with the labor of fixing the world.
Mm,
They don't get to just play.
mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And so for me to be able to, I feel very passionate about the idea that we've set up a space for young folks to play,
Mm,
to freedom dream, to be expansive, to not just have to always worry about, dang, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to this homework assignment, I got this college application. Those things have a place, but I think what we've lost, especially for Black and Brown kids, and this is why we keep hearing this reoccurring issue with mental health,
mm,
is they don't have spaces to just be.
mm,
Somebody's always asking them for, so you got to be better than them over there. So you got to make sure you go to college. You got to get these degrees. You got to get this good job because you can't be, how we tend to train
mm-hmm.
our young Black and brown youth to have to be better because white supremacy is coming for them. You know
Wow.
what I mean? This is a space where we're saying, yeah, all that is in its time, but developmentally, as a 15-year-old right now, you need to chill. You need to listen to your iPod. You need to play in the dirt. You need to learn how to talk to other folks. You need to just be to lay in a hammock and look up at the sky,
Yeah.
and have that freedom to dream about what's possible for you in the world. I don't want you to become a professional organizer. I
Yeah.
want you to do something you love. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't want young Black women to come in here like, oh, I got to be an organizer because I got to fix, mutual aid has to happen and this has to happen. No, you 16 years old, sis.
Yeah.
You get to dream.
Hmm.
You know what I
I
mean?
love it.
About possibilities. So for me, if I had a magic wand, that's what I would switch out. I would allow our babies to have more of a childhood.
Yeah. Through the multiplication of spaces
Yeah.
that create the opportunity for them to decompress,
Yep.
breathe a little bit, be a
Yep.
kid. I love that. For whatever reason, Michael Jackson came to my mind as you were talking because, right, like he is basically the personification of the idea of not having a childhood,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
so many ways, right? And yeah, I don't know. So I thought of
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. And I also thought of Chance the Rapper.
Mm.
So the reason I thought of Chance the Rapper is because and I wish they did a better job of maintaining these spaces, keeping up with the game systems in the spaces, all of the things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But right down the street from the high school he attended, the Harold Washington Library had a center that was called YOU Media. And it
Mm.
was just a space where shorties just come hang. They would do all type of arts, including music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, we have, in many ways, Chance had dope parents as well, or has dope parents, but we have a Chance the Rapper because he had a space. He
Yeah.
had this space, whereas it wasn't overly regulated. As long as you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, you're not messing up the space, you come here and we're going to embrace you, accept you, and let you be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, no, I think that that's absolutely powerful as far as how you would utilize your agency to create more spaces for young people to be.
Absolutely.
So, Tori, unfortunately, we are at like the point of a conversation that kind of makes me sad because I'm like, oh man, we're at the end of our time. But we're at that point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stick with kind of the flow of what we've been doing and just allow myself to be sad and land this plane. But before we do that, I want you to have a final word.
Mm-hmm.
And in light of what it is that we've shared,
Mm-hmm.
in light of what's exciting you right now,
Mm-hmm.
even maybe some things that are making you grieve right now,
Mm-hmm.
I want to give the floor to you. And however you want to help us to land this plane, please have at it.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. And this has been an amazing conversation. You can see I'm passionate. So thank you for giving me a space
Absolutely.
and a platform to talk about it. I would just honestly, I want to leave folks with this fact that our babies need us.
Mm,
They need us in ways that they cannot describe in this moment. What I try to remind elders is, think about how we are taking in what's happening right now and our fully developed aged brains, right? Think
mhm,
about how we are overwhelmed by what's happening
mm,
societally around us. And now imagine being 15,
mm.
right? You dealing with all that and you got your hormones and you got your homework and you got,
Yeah.
there's all of these things going on. And so I just think that, we tend to in our society be a little ageist and, grown folks over here, young people over here, but our babies need us in a very real way right now.
Mm.
And our villages are even more important in this moment because of what's happening societally. And so I would just encourage folks to really lean into being an elder. You don't always have to formalize it in terms of signing up for a mentoring program or whatever. Like
Mm,
young folks are looking to us whether we are signed up as a mentor or not.
mm.
You know what I mean? And so I just would want us to lean more into what we needed as young people, the kind of support and love and affirmation and patience and kindness that we needed. I would ask us to lean into that, to provide that to the young folks that are around you. And I would ask us to really deeply listen to
Mm.
what young people are saying they need and to try to provide that as much as possible.
So I was supposed to give you the final word without interjecting, but I just have to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I don't have a fear of kids because we were in the classroom and it's just like,
Maybe.
if you don't get over here and do what you need to do, like, come on, like, and then like I was even the type of teacher where you're not fighting in my classroom. Like it wasn't even a thought. Like
Right.
we just don't do that over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I will say is in my mind's eye, I think about the person who's 40 years old, who lives in community, but feels as if I open myself up, then maybe I might be putting myself in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you have any thought or counsel as it pertains to that possible sentiment or thought that
Yeah.
folks might have, but that
Yeah.
came to mind as you were talking. You have anything to say to that?
Yeah. And a lot, I do. I think, and a lot of that is white supremacy too, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
capitalism,
Mm,
because now we're in the situation where now it's also we feel embarrassed or like we might be unhealthy as adults to want to help young people out, right? Because people
mm,
looking at us sideways and like,
mm.
what you mean? You want to be with young people all the time. It's like it becomes this sort of taboo that again, if you think about it, that stuff didn't exist where our ancestors came from.
Yeah,
Like everybody in the village we were all together,
yeah.
right? And so I would just ask folks to kind of lean back, like go back into our ancient technology that we have and think about the ways that communities in the global south have been able to thrive, and that's by us being intergenerational. That's by us not being afraid of, they want us to be afraid of one another, right? That's so that they want us to be afraid of this taboo concept that as an adult you can't hang with a group of kids and dispense some wisdom and knowledge and be in collaboration with them. We got to start looking at, we're taking a group of kids to Ghana every year. This is going to be our third year doing it this summer. And what we see when we go to Ghana in terms of how society treats, how they treat each other, even with the formality, it has to be Mr. or uncle or aunt, like even with the formality, there is not a separation. It's a we.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And we are all responsible for we.
yeah.
And so, like, I remember we were doing some Adinkra stamping, and some of the school kids came over, and The group was, the elders who were helping us were like, oh, y'all, go back to school. They don't know who those kids are, but that they're responsible for them. So they were telling them, no, y'all go back to school. That was not awkward.
Mm,
That was not, it didn't feel any type of way. It's like, that's uncle.
yeah.
And he's telling us we got to be on point and go do what and there was no weird feelings about that. Right. So I think we have to start kind of coming out of those ways that they've conditioned us to think that we cannot be in community with one another and that we have to fear one another. And we got to start just moving past that. And like I said, just reach back to where we come from. Like we are ancestors of the global South. Like this is not how we did things.
Mm.
You know what I mean? We gotta go back to the way we do. It's in us. It's in our DNA, as Kendrick would say.
It's in our DNA, huh? Don't play with me. Oh, you just took me back to my favorite Kendrick CDs. Well, we had Element, we had some of everything going on in that.
Yep.
Loyalty, stop playing with me. I know a little something
Yes.
about what you're talking right
Got
now.
royalty, got loyalty inside our DNA. Kendrick wasn't playing with us.
He wasn't. That was my workout jam for about a whole year, I promise you. And then I just stopped working out after I got tired of that CD. So, yo, Dr. Torie, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your willingness to be with us. With that, this is the conclusion of episode 11 of Village Talks. Dr. Torie, before we close, let us know where we can find you. First and foremost, hopefully you're on LinkedIn because I am definitely going to link this there. But is there a
Yeah.
website or a landing space? Anything special you got going on that you want to share with us before we close?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely hit me up on LinkedIn, Torie Weiston-Serdan, and then also yman.org. That's our website, yman.org. And always, hit us up on IG. IG is where we pop in. So right now we're actually running a campaign for National Mentoring Month to talk about like centering young people and their voices around mentoring. So you can check that out on Instagram.
Dope, dope, dope. A great segment. Thanks for
Thank you.
being here with us. And with that, peace out.